Good morning, Downieville. Welcome to Dirt Magic, the Downieville Sessions. I'm your host, Martin Scheel. Dirt Magic, the Downieville Sessions, brings you good times from the great people of the Downieville Classic. In the days leading up to the 25th anniversary of this epic event, you will hear from some great people, including past champions, riders, volunteers, staff, guests, and locals, sharing their classic stories that all began some 28 years ago. Our guest today began his cycling career out climbing seasoned mountain bike racers on his modified 3-speed BMX bike. He wasn't even a teenager yet. With a family instilled love of cycling, little did he know an exceptional career was being born. From there, the list of accolades grew exponentially. He even has a world land driveway speed record. Don't worry, you can't beat it. Eventually, the lure of Downieville would infect his blood and kick off a viral need to be crowned the all-mountain world champion. The cure for this prognosis? 5 straight championships. And with a giant genetic makeup for outdoor speed, he continues to leave his mark on podiums everywhere. So sit back, lower your tire pressure, grab a pork chop and a tasty beverage for your pack, and please say hello to a Downieville icon and our good friend, Mr. Carl Decker. Carl, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marty. Glad to be here.
Yeah, hey, thanks. I've been looking forward to this conversation for some time, as one of the most famous and probably for some infamous Downieville Classic Pro riders. And so I appreciate you taking the time. I know your schedule's pretty hectic. And are you stateside right now? Or are you out of the country?
I'm stateside. I have like 3 days home between the trips. It's yeah, it's a crazy time of year.
I bet you try to maximize those 72 hours as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fight between doing what I should do and working on my motorcycle or something that I want to do.
So, as we look back at the Downieville Classic, I'll just pick a year here. So it's the year 2010, and you're in Sierra City, surrounded by 800 of your fellow mountain bikers, getting ready to engage in an 8-mile climb that has 3,000 vertical, fully exposed, no shade. And well, what are you thinking? Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. Let's come back to that. First, let's figure out who Carl Decker is. Where did you grow up? Where are you from? And, what was your first bicycle experience?
I let's see. I'm from Bend, Oregon. We moved here when I was in 2nd grade, and my dad was a cyclist. My dad rode a Schwinn across the United States when he was 20 years old. So that was pretty influential. Like I'm just kind of I'm the output of some factors that are kind of obvious, like living in Bend, having a dad that wants to ride bikes so much, being a lot like my dad. And I started racing mountain bikes when I was 9, back before there were when I was 9, we're talking 1984, there weren't mountain bikes for kids. There were, my dad bought a new Schwinn BMX and put a 3-speed hub in the back so that we could go touring. And I was doing 50-mile rides on a BMX bike.
Oh man!
So I've been doing this forever. And yeah, it's just a lifelong thing. That's who I am, and that's why I'm here.
So obviously your dad was a cyclist, and boy, riding across the United States on a Schwinn is setting the bar pretty high for any offspring that chooses to follow in his footsteps, obviously. But did he race as well?
Yeah, he raced. He started racing mountain bikes about, our family kind of started this the same time. He started his first race probably 83, 82. Beach cruiser. That's kind of what everybody was on in 82 at the local races. And then, the next day he went and bought some purple mountain bike, spent way too much money on on some, what was that thing? Anyway, like the hook was set, and that's what we did as a family a lot, is just go camping and go race mountain bikes. So a lot of the races in the La Sierra are very much what I was born to do. Like that's what I've been doing my whole life. You go somewhere pretty and you hang out and you meet new people and you ride your bike. That's always appealed to me and always will.
Well, I mean, growing up in Bend, and then of course having access to the Northern Sierra in Northern California. I mean, yeah, your backyard was basically a mountain bike epic waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, I mean, you can't swing a dead chicken without hitting perfect single track around here.
Oh, the words of Carl Decker. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, it's you literally have to like drive past single track to go to other single track. Like it's just not. We're just spoiled for choice around here, and it's to go to Downieville is 7 hours. I hardly ever get there because I have to go. I have to leave all this great stuff we have here. We just we have it so good around here.
Well, plus when you only have 72 hours between jet setting around the globe, you got to spend those 72 wisely.
I wouldn't call it jet setting. It's seeing how many bikes you can cram in a minivan. Mostly, it's not as high profile as you make it sound.
Yeah, we're actually in a van down by the river.
Yes.
So, what was if you can remember, since you're such an experienced and wise pro racer now, what was your first mountain bike race?
The Cascade Cruise was a race that started up at Mount Bachelor in Bend and descended a couple thousand feet into town. It was 31 miles. And I like to say that it would be impressive that I raced 31 miles on a BMX bike when I was 9, but my brother raced it too, and he was 7, which is
Wow.
bonkers.
Yeah,
Um,
that's that. Did it have? It didn't have a coaster brake, did it? Well, I guess it couldn't have
no,
before
no,
it
they
rode.
had rim brakes, and we had a 3-speed internal hub, and we were fine out there. We had the time of our lives. I was like, it sounds like a little league father thing, like, oh, I'm going to make you like bike riding, and you're going to go do this race, and we're going to cry, and it's going to be miserable. And sure, it's a mountain bike race, so we were miserable sometimes, but we loved it. Like to do that race had a big climb in it, up into like kind of the subalpine. Like it was a big proper point to point mountain bike race, a lot like Downieville, and it was an adventure. And to get through that with with what little experience we had being that age was like phenomenal. And they're like, we're like the talk of the race when we're finishing. Like, I can't believe the people that do it, that spend the money and enter a bike race, all think that they're like they've done some work and they're like ready to race, and like then a 7-year-old passes you on a descent. Like people would literally like see my brother and like attack and then pull off of the trail so that they couldn't be seen because they were so ashamed of themselves.
And is this an older brother or younger brother?
He's younger. He was 7 at the first time we raced that race.
Oh
So
yeah, so you guys were
I was
close enough in
9.
age where you guys could be competitive with each other, though,
We were
push each
very
other.
competitive. He
Yeah.
he had the upper hand for a little while there. Like in our early 20s, he was just a better climber than I could ever be. I was a little bit better descender, but we were very close. Yeah, and we raced into our 20s as the team Decker guys, and we had
The
yellow t-shirts.
decorators.
We had a purple mountain biker graphic on a yellow t-shirt with pockets on the back.
Nice, nice. Well, I tell you, it would be pretty defeating, to see a sub teenager on basically a BMX bike that for all practical purposes on a climb is riding single speed, and they take you out. That would yeah, that would put me back in my place if I was in my early 20s and thinking, oh, I love this. Here's what I'm going to do for my life, and be a mountain bike racer, and then get passed by you or your brother.
Well, I mean, it was, well, to be fair, we had 3 speeds, and the guys with full-on mountain bikes only had, a little bit more range than we did. The gearing was so bad back then. So, yeah, I mean, back then there weren't any pros there. It wasn't a professional sport. Everybody was just out there trying to figure it out. It was early days of a burgeoning sport, so it was neat. Like nobody knew where they belonged or what to expect, and it was a wild frontier. People are racing in cut off jeans, and most people don't have proper clothing, and all the bikes are barely, the bikes were terrible then. I mean, you could have a great experience, but like every part of the bike was awful. You know, you're running 45 psi and still getting flat tires,
Yeah.
and
And
you're crawling.
boy, and those bikes were like Frankenstein bikes. I mean, dug up parts from other bikes. I mean, you know, it was literally the cutting edge. People were trying to figure out what a mountain bike was going to be, and of course,
Yeah,
it never stopped. I mean, even to this day, the technology, you know, and a 10-year-old mountain bike now is so much different than what it looks like today. And
yeah,
yeah,
and something that I like to think of about back then too is that mountain bike races predated mountain bike trails, kind of, right? Like we were racing on roads. There was no single track in that race, and nobody cared. Like there was no complaining that wasn't enough single track because the bikes had to be around long enough for people to like build the infrastructure, and it took a long time. So like I still love going really fast on washed out dirt roads just because that's what I grew up. You know, I was doing that on a BMX bike when I was 9, and that's still probably my the thing I'm best at on a bicycle is riding down gravel and dirt roads fast.
can you imagine what the Downieville downhill would do to one of those bikes
Oh, I
today?
mean, you could get through it and you'd have an amazing time, but it would just, you'd have blisters and your bike could, you'd need multiple tubes and all that stuff, and maybe like you'd need a sandwich, and you'd need maybe like the means to start a fire if things went bad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, because we didn't have the old GPS save me button back then.
No,
It was self save or become food from of the forest.
yeah, like bring a pocket knife, bring some matches, maybe bring. I mean, my dad when he did those first races, I remember he had a space blanket in his little pouch on the seat. So like, he had the stuff like, oh, this is real. Like I'm going out in the woods. If things go bad, I get lost, I break my leg, I need to have shelter. I haven't seen anybody with shelter in their bike at a bike race in a while.
No, no. Although the space blanket idea, I agree with your dad. I have those strategically placed in all kinds of gear and vehicles and packs, and because
Yeah.
you never know. There's too many stories you see on the internet, YouTube, and the news that had they had a space blanket, things would have turned out different. So,
Yeah.
hey, so always a typical question asking someone, what their favorite race ever was, which is hard for someone I know like you or anybody that's been, riding and racing for a number of years or even decades. And most people will choose, their favorite course, or it's the mountain, or like if somebody fell in love with Downieville, they're going to say it's the greatest ever. But you, for your favorite race, took a different path or have a different reason for choosing your favorite race, and what is that, if you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember what I said. Like it changes daily, right?
Well, you've mentioned
Often I say that
your dad a
Downieville
few
is my
times.
favorite.
Yeah,
What's that?
but you've mentioned your dad a few times, so tie your dad into it and see if that brings back a memory of a favorite race years ago.
Um, God, I mean, that was what I did. Like I went to so many races with my dad. The Revenge of the Siskiyous probably is the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, that one was big. When I was 14, I raced the long course at Revenge, I think, which was 49 miles, and it started in Ashland, what goes up to the top of Mount Ashland and comes back into town. And I was 14, and I ended up I caught my dad on Revenge Hill, like the last big climb, because I could outclimb him because I was a scrawny little kid that had been riding bikes for his whole life. And we had this massive battle where I was passing him and I'd blow off the track and he'd pass me again. And he ended up like, I literally blew the last corner on the entire course and he went on to win by like, a few meters. And then the next year I was 15 and I'd hit puberty and I was like one of the fastest guys in the country or something. Like Paul Thomasberg, who was like, top 5 or 10 at the first world championships that year. In both downhill and cross country, he was like arguably the best rider in the world, maybe at the first worlds. He couldn't shake me. It was just me and him he kept looking back and doing this double take, like, who is this little kid? And like I rode with Paul to the top of the mountain, and then he instantly dropped me as soon as it wasn't even as soon as it wasn't uphill. I couldn't ride fast on the flats. I couldn't ride fast on the downhills. I was a twerp, but like I had this power to weight thing, and it was all new. Anyway, that race was neat. Just a it was a neat, you finished in this beautiful park and there were so many people and food. And it was just this gathering that was, it was more than just the race course thing, it was really special. And the events that really resonate with me still feel like that, like it's, you can't just take it anywhere. And it's, you can't make it into a franchise, right? Like you have like Granduro and they'll sell you a franchise and you go to Europe and race and it's just purple. There's purple logos and that's it. Like kind of the same type of race, but you could say the same thing, about Downieville that I'm kind of saying about this Ashland race. It's very similar, it's unique to a place and the people, and it's you just can't replicate that anywhere else.
Yeah, anytime you bring in, such a unique area, and of course with Downieville, when you say downhill, and for those that haven't heard of the Downieville Classic and they hear downhill, they're World Cup or enduro, and they see these 2, 3, 5, sometimes maybe even a 10-minute downhill run, and Downieville you're going 17 miles and you're going to be riding for between 40 and 50 minutes on the downhill.
Yeah.
People go, that's a downhill?
Wait, there's 1,000 feet of climbing in the downhill?
yeah, wait. Yeah. And we promise, lower first divide is in fact downhill. Barely, but
Right.
downhill. You're going to be in your big chain ring.
Water still doesn't flow uphill. I'm sure of that.
That's true. Well, what a cool experience too. And then especially being young and be able to race with your dad and, have that competitive spirit. And I imagine for him, must be pretty awesome, especially being such a, someone that loved and had a passion for cycling to see their sons kind of follow suit and then, have you pestering his wheel, and then having that worrisome, here's my teenager. I gotta, I'm running out of time to keep beating him. So,
yeah. It was like in 1 year, it went from like I was mid pack to like being at the front, or for the first half of the race anyway. What a neat sport, right? That like,
oh yeah,
you can be in your 40s and a working guy and like get what you want out of it, and you can be 10 years old and get the same kind of benefits, and it's wild that like what other sport is like that, really,
Yeah, it's true. I had Katarina Nash on a few episodes ago, and she was in a hotel room in Arizona getting ready for a stage race, and then she was heading out to South Africa. So she had her pro racing job, and then her day job that she had to go, and she's been racing for a long time, like you too, and been very, very successful. But yeah, what an awesome career when it comes to athletic and sports, when, many times it's, if you're in it for a decade, you're lucky, to even be in it that long.
Oh yeah. I mean, the NFL is 2 years, right? And like a lot of that, if you're a footballer, most of that happens in high school,
Yeah.
and for a reason, like it's just not a sustainable sport. And it's not, it's not a knock against it. There's a lot of magic in that, but where does it leave you in your 20s, your 30s, into your 50s? My dad is riding his bike more than I am these days. He's got an e-bike. He's got like 3 e-bikes. He did like 210 miles last week. I'm like, I'm still a professional bike racer, and I did half that or something. It's crazy.
So, young teenager, you're becoming fast, making a name for yourself. How does Downieville come onto your radar?
Well, I wasn't a young racer anymore when I heard about Downieville. I'm old as hell. So I was, racing World Cup stuff with my teammate Adam Craig. He lived in Bend. We're thick as thieves. Super close. So we were racing World Cup stuff for Giant over in Europe a lot, and I was realizing that I wasn't cut out for that, really. Adam had a way of like chaos making him better, and chaos, I was more of a strategic rider, and chaos didn't suit me very well. So battling around for 30th or 50th or whatever just wasn't, worth the squeeze of going to Europe and doing all that. And Adam was in the Olympics in 2008. he was still doing the World Cup thing when he came to Downieville, and that's kind of what put it on my map. He came to Downieville. He went to Downieville in '08 and '09, I think, and he won the double there, the cross country and the downhill. And he was so effusive about how awesome it was, and I already knew from just watching all of what Weir had done, and just there's just a certain, it was enigmatic, right? There was just all this talk about Downieville and how rad it was, and how bitchin' the tracks were, and just it's just, the race wasn't even that old at that point, but it already had a legend. So I was keen to check it out, and then I went there, and I was fast right away, and I won the thing that first year. But I was the most surprised of anybody by that. But
well, that's back to that 2010, how I started it off, and purposely, obviously, at this point. So yeah, I mean, again, there you are at the start line, your first Downieville Classic, you're racing the old mountain, you're going to be on that exact same bike the following day doing the downhill. And there's some fast riders in there. I mean, we were just coming out of the era of, Adam had already won it, and in 2009. And but there's still Mark Weir, Jason Mosler, Kenny Burt, Ross Snell. You're lining up with some folks that, like Weir, it's his backyard. And what were you thinking? Do you think, man, I got a shot at this? Or
no. I didn't think I had a shot at it. Adam Craig was a badass. Like, he was a podium guy at World Cups, and like, he did that based on his descending largely. Like, he was one of the best cross country descenders in the world. And I rode with him all the time, and he was better than me, not to say that he was better all the time. I'd have my days, and there was places and there was types of trails where I was very good and I might be better, but generally I could, he was amazing. And there were a bunch of guys, he wasn't a lock, he didn't know that he could win everything. So I showed up, and I was on a prototype 29er thing, and that was like a big boon to me, like going from 26 to 29. And I kind of begged them to let me ride this bike that nobody had kind of seen. And that was a big deal for me. That wheel size helped me, I think, a little bit. And, God, I was smart about it, honestly. Like, I knew that if I was going to win the cross country, I had to like race that first climb, like the finish line was at the top, and then just hold it together for the next hour. And I did that. And I remember that first year taking off, the gun goes off, and everybody kind of sprints for 400 yards. And then they all settle into like kind of casual pace. And I like just kept riding. And I heard people like booing me. Like, Weir, it was probably weird.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it probably was.
Like, this isn't how we do the thing. Like, we're casual at the start. And I was just like, well, it's a race. If I'm going to be at the front at the end, I need to be way in the front in an hour because I know everybody's going to be coming for me. So yeah, I rode all in on that first climb, and I must have had a massive gap because I had a big gap at the finish. And those guys were certainly going faster. I didn't know, like, some of those guys had seat droppers that year. I'd never ridden one. I tried it and I felt it was weird, and I didn't want it. It was soon after that I discovered the merits of that. But, high post, full Lycra, cross-country tires, do a lot of closing your eyes and praying on some of that stuff.
And on a 29er, which puts you even taller. Your center of gravity is even higher.
Well, it isn't, because your bottom bracket is lower. So the cranks are at the same place, but you just have, it's a different thing. And, it wasn't very long after that was kind of the standard. Everybody was kind of on 29, and that's kind of the way it still is.
So from standing on the podium, and I remember, calling your name up there, and it was, you could, obviously folks in the industry, knew Carl Decker, but a lot of folks that had visited Downieville, they're like, who's Carl Decker? Giant bicycles? What? Because for so many years it was, Adam was the first giant, to come across and win it. But it was Mosler and Weir, and especially even before it was the All Mountain, Mark owned, the downhill. I mean, he, rode that thing almost like it was blood flowing through his veins to keep him
Yeah.
alive. But on that start line in 2011, now you're defending. Now people are gunning for you. Now that casual climb probably isn't going to happen because they're like, we can't let Decker go like we did in 2010
Right.
because we're never going to catch him. And so how did that one pan out?
It was, yeah, it was more, yeah, it was totally changed from then on. And I think that might have been the year that the Aussie guy, the Tassie guy, Sid Taberley was out. And he was a top World Cup guy on a good day, very good descender, ballsy, kind of crazy guy. He was off the front, I think. A lot of these years, I wouldn't be the top guy across the top or the first guy across the top. I'd be getting a time check going through that feed zone, and it'd be like, oh yeah, they've got 4 minutes on you, and I'd just be like, oh my god, like I'm doomed. But that's the beauty and the terror of Downieville is that like nothing is secure until you get to the line, and so many people would blow up or their bikes would break, they'd get multiple flats. And I just it was either skill or luck or both that kept me going, and I had 5 wins in a row based on some mixture of skill and luck. And then when the tide turned, I had kind of the same skill, but I didn't have the luck, and I maybe should have won for another couple of years. But that's to say, maybe I shouldn't have won a couple of those years that I did win, because I just had the luck that it's really fickle out there. Like to put it all together, it takes a certain magic, and I had it for a while and then it disappeared and I couldn't get it back.
Well, it's interesting in that 2011 year, I'm looking at the results right now, and your hour 32, 50.2 seconds. When I look at Aaron and Sid and Kenny Burt all the way down to Tim Olson, Aaron Bradford, and there's Sid Taberley right there. He was on the third spot there, but their times in the cross country, all the way down to Tim Olson in the number 7 spot, are all within 2 minutes of each other. But you were nearly 7 minutes
Whoa.
ahead of Sid. And
Yeah.
that's substantial because at this point in time with the All Mountain, your combined time was how we chose the champion. And the
And
downhill.
that's the year that changed it, the Decker rule.
That's what I'm getting at. Exactly. That's where you saw where we're going. Because the downhill times, you were 5 seconds slower than Aaron Bradford, 20 seconds slower than Sid. And yeah, when you go down, Kenny was faster on the downhill. But boy, when you've got 7 minutes on the field,
Yeah.
You're not going to make that up on the downhill.
No.
So,
You just got to keep it upright. That's all I needed to do, and that was a gift, because for a while there, I wasn't capable of winning the downhill. I didn't know the track, and I didn't have the skill set. That came with time.
Well, we'll give you those two. If some other pros want to put an asterisk on it, I'll argue with them every day on that one. You fully earned those, and then there's nothing to take away, because after the Decker rule was initiated, you still won 3 more in a row.
I did. Well, the highlight of those was that there was a year in there where I won because of the Decker rule. I lost the cross country. I won the downhill, and the time gap was such that I would have not won had I not won by such a margin 3 years earlier and changed the rules for myself. It was a very perfect yin yang of racing experience. I got a kick out of that. But by then, like my fitness was waning, and my knowledge of that course was just getting stronger and stronger. So that you change as a rider over your career, and I was a different person, different time, different rules, and it worked out.
Absolutely. Our 20th anniversary. Jason Mosler, a former multiple time also All Mountain winner, put in a great ride, and got that top spot from defending. And I guess if you can't be in the top spot, having someone like Mosler in there would probably be okay. Someone that's had won it 5 times as well, or 4 times.
Absolutely. And he wanted it so bad. Like, he wanted to win that thing one more time. And it was like his magnum opus to come back and do that. And like, he burned so many matches with his wife and with his job. It just like, he used a lot of emotional credit to get there and to put in the work. And I mean, I was putting in the work too. This thing meant a lot to me. This race meant more to me than any other race on the calendar. But to lose to him, he's a wonderful dude. He worked his ass off. He won it fair and square. And I was like, almost got a tear in my eye to see him win and take it like a happy tear. It was wild. It was cool to lose to him.
It was a good year. And then following that, you're back with us again, as you've been for some time. But you have a new young man riding for Giant. And I don't know if protege is the right word. You would have to answer that more than me. But out of nowhere, a name that many of us had never heard before, I actually had to call out for the All Mountain champion in that year, and that's young Mr. Steven DeVos, which is still riding strong.
He is, yeah. I don't know if protege is the right word either. Like, I certainly knew a lot about Downieville, and like, he got him off on the right foot, but he's got more descending skill than I ever had, and he's a better climber. He's, there's a lot of parallels between him and Adam. Just full of talent, a little bit less driven, I would say, kind of like just soft focus on training and stuff, which worked for Adam for his whole career. Kind of, he'd be out going kayaking when other people are doing nothing but intervals and rest. And Steven's kind of like that. So it's, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Steven's a worthy champion.
And he's defending, in our now that we're out of our apocalyptic time of COVID. It's been a little bit of a delay for him, but he is our defending champion. So it will be interesting to see you guys on the line together again coming up.
I just wish that COVID would have happened the last year of my reign, so that I could say that I was the defending champion for 8 years instead of 5. Right? What a gift!
It does sound good, and you're not lying. If you have to put it on a resume, I've been 8 years now the defending champion.
Yeah,
that's good. I like that. Ooh, yeah. See, Steven, I hope he has that on his resume since 2019. Yeah. That'll work out all right.
Wording is important.
The Giant team. It's interesting. Being in the industry and around a lot of racing teams and getting to know folks like yourself over the year, Adam and Weir, Mosler, kind of the family of the Downieville Classic. But I know folks love riding the Downieville trails, but I mean, Adam and Steven really kind of took that to the next level. And I pull up to this campsite at altitude above Packer Lake, below Packer Saddle, and I see a trailer, a camper that is sitting on top of an old Dodge Cummings that looks like it was around when I learned to drive. And then all of a sudden, here comes three riders coming in, looking a little dirty, big smiles on their face, as most people do in Downieville. And here you three come, you, Adam, and Steve, having awesome riding in Downieville, camping and up at the above Downieville, and shooting a movie all at the same time. Kind of give me the backstory on that, because that's not many people would do that. It's such a remote area, especially for you guys. That Steven, Adam's coming from the East Coast, Steven from central United States, and you coming from up north. It takes a little bit to put those three caliber riders together, and then go out and just have a good time riding.
Yeah, it was all kind of a project that came during COVID. Like, we literally were like, well, we're not racing. What are we gonna do? And Steven had the idea that let's just go to Downieville and ride, and like, maybe we can make some film out of it, but have a reason to go somewhere with your buddies and do something. And it took a while to actually make it happen, just with people, 3 adults from 3 different parts of the country trying to get together and then, have somebody else pay for it. That's one of the parts. So it finally happened. And, like I said, I've only been to Downieville when it's not the classic once. And I was on a maybe twice on a motorcycle, maybe 2 times, once or twice. And it's special. And I want to go there, but like, I'm going to go there for the classic. I'll just go early usually, because like it's a long drive and I'm the closest. So like for those guys to come, like that's a really special deal. And I don't get to ride with Steven other than pre-riding some contrived cross-country course or some other thing, So for the three of us and Adam, now that he's on the East Coast, like I don't he's like my favorite person to follow down a piece of signal track, and I don't get to do it. So for us to converge there in a place that means so much to us, like we were all super keen to do it. And we were thinking and talking about it for 2.5 years. And we finally made it happen, and it was neat. The video thing, I think it turned out different than I anticipated, but it was I think it was neat.
Oh, it was good, and anyone that's seen it, truly enjoyed it, and it's interesting when I look back at my experiences from being with the Downieville Classic and the stewardship, and all the variables it took to even here I am today, still doing it. But really, you don't even think about it, just because you're sitting with three super cool dudes, but you're sitting with three of the fastest riders on earth that have ever existed, especially in the Downieville system. And it kind of makes you appreciate, those that, as many folks that I've spoken to on this podcast, that Downieville gets in your DNA. It changes you, and it's one of those things, that you just have to have. And even when you come from such epic riding places as you guys do, to still come to Downieville and make it an important moment is pretty cool, man, and appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean it's an authentic place and an authentic race, and like the races I was talking about as a kid, like those left an impression on me and like turned me into who I am. And this is one of the few races that still feels like that. You have Rotary clubs and like business uh, bureaus for small towns, like bringing in these things, and it's like it's a business thing, and they're like, how many hotel beds can we fill? There's no hotel beds in Downieville. Like most of the city doesn't even want us there. It happens because it's like there's a cadre of people that give a shit that want to share it, and they are generous in keeping the thing alive and making the trails what they are. So it's pretty unique, man. Like I think this year is going to be wacky. Like there's so much talk about it. Like so many people are so pumped to go back there. So many people that have never been there are like, oh yeah, Downieville's happening, I'm going.
Yeah.
What's it going to be like? And I'm like,
and being a first timer at the 25th anniversary, boy, that's going to be interesting for some folks for sure, because we're going to try to
yeah,
take this thing off the rails.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna, and the thing is, it's going to be wild. It's going to be the same as it always is. It's going to be awesome. Like it's a lot of the same characters. The track, the more ways that things change, the more Downieville stays the same. The same rocks, the same ruts, the same trees. The water's always there, and it's it's crazy to see everything else evolve, and that place doesn't. It's
Yeah,
stuck in
it
time,
is.
and
And I think we've
it's really
turned
neat.
the tide, with the locals, and some have gone back to the earth. Others we've changed their minds, and it's definitely a success story for us. But we're just a component of that. But the Downieville Classic and all those riders, and the respect that they've shown, the town of Downieville, over the decades, on and off the course, or just showing up, I think has been paramount in swaying the tide. So now
Yeah,
that Downieville is an outdoor recreation destination, and of course mountain biking being the at the top of that. But yeah, it's been it's been a good run. And
it's really neat what you guys have done. Is Downieville has literally like made. I don't know if I'd have the job I have today if it wasn't for Downieville. Like I was a washed up World Cup guy, and like I found it breathed new life into my career. And what you got, it's very much the same for SBTS, right? It established you guys and allowed you guys to push into new realms and do a bunch of great work that wouldn't be on. It just wouldn't exist without that race.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I started announcing 20 years ago, and just on a fluke, on a whim. I was already volunteering, and it just went from there. And then the stewardship. So yeah, same boat. There's probably quite a few people that could say the same thing, that without Downieville, I wouldn't be probably sitting in this chair up here in the La
Yeah,
Sierra right now, talking to
right.
you. So.
Yeah, and there's so many people, so many great people with SBTS that like would they have stuck around, if there wasn't this community that's doing all this work and like having all this opportunity to make a difference. And like nobody know where Quincy is. I didn't know where Quincy was until you guys told me where Quincy was, like Portola. Like I would just go to Downieville. And now like Downieville is, it's the centerpiece to a system of things that just it's really cool.
So in your spare time, when you're not racing, I noticed that you do get a little bit of media attention. Now this one's a few years old, and I was pretty impressed with the Decorator's Crib show from back in 2015, talking about your house, of course. Um,
Yeah.
the the front door that looked like it came right off of a Viking castle,
Yeah.
the octagon, and more the kind that you would dance in. Although I'm sure there may have been some wrestling in that octagon over the years as well. Uh, I loved your air spa, and apparently, is that like an air fryer? It's better for you without water. It's just
There's
air.
a bunch of weird stuff in that place. That was such a cool. It was funny. We put that video together. It's just cut. It's a spoof on the MTV Cribs
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And my buddy, we were filming some other things, and my buddy was down, and I was like, let's do this thing, and we spent an afternoon shooting it, and like it went crazy online, and holy crap! Like I made the mistake. I've never been like part of something that's quasi viral, I guess. Don't read the comments.
Oh,
Like when
oh well,
you read the comments, I was like, oh my God. Like I
you
got lit up on there. It was like some people are like, oh, giant, this is why giant spikes are so expensive because he lives in a mansion, they're paying him too much. And then other people are like, you're 40 years old and you live with roommates. What a loser. There's people that were lighting me up for how I was treating my goldfish.
yeah.
Like that goldfish
Oh, well,
in that.
that is a couple more of my questions. Yeah, I figured PETA was going to get involved when especially when you said you had snakeskin tile in your shower, and
It
it did
was
look like
not
it.
real snake.
I know, but as soon as you said it, and I looked at it and I went, "Oh, that's funny." I go, "There's got to be people that probably bid on that one completely and went, oh my God, this guy is psycho. He's got snakeskin tile in his shower, and then yeah, and a giant goldfish in a water jug."
That goldfish lived in that water jug for 15 years. It was a 27-cent feeder goldfish that I loved like a brother. And that was where he was most happy.
Gosh. And
But
then
yeah, we lived in that place for 3 years. It was a couple of my best friends, and it was during the economic downturn. And it was literally, we all saved money by moving into this 40-acre estate on the verge of town that has all this single track and field and stream. And we were like playing golf in our yard and all. It had a gardener. It was like cheaper than living in, before or since.
oh,
It was pretty cool.
absolutely. And I do like that you have. It'd be interesting to see if any of the folks that have owned it, or lived in it since you guys were there for those few years, if anybody's beat your driveway speed record.
Never.
So was
Well,
that?
nobody's ever rented it. Like the guy that bought it for a penance because of the economic stuff. He bought it, like clicked buy it now on sight unseen and bought it, and then like we rented it because he didn't want like animals to take it over when he left for the winter to live somewhere else. So we rented it for 3 years, and he's moved back in it. I go out there and visit him. We're due in the spring. We go out there and see how things are going.
That
We
place is pretty
put some
rad.
trout in the pond, and we go out and check and see how big the trout are. Like as long as my arm now.
Well, I tell you what, Carl, it's gonna be pretty hard not to pony up that video when we promote this podcast on social media, when we get ready to publish it and release it. And folks, if you want to find it ahead of time, if you just look up Carl Decker's crib on YouTube, eventually you're gonna get there. You'll find it, and
Yeah.
it's worth the watch for sure. And apparently the
Hit me up in
comments
the
are even better.
comments. I won't read anymore.
All right, so I got just a couple. Well, that was kind of a shenanigan. Let's talk about the Cascade gravel grinder real quick. We've again back to Downieville, and meeting people from other states. Breakaway Promotions. Chad there, their executive director. Doing a lot of work for us logistics wise. They'll be at the Classic this year, and I know you know him well from your participation in their gravel grinder series up there. But he brought to my attention. And you won the Cascade last year, correct?
I won a stage of it.
The stage of it last year?
Yeah. I won the Queen stage, the big stage at the end.
Yeah, and apparently there were some other very, very strong pro riders that you just out strategized, or maybe your dad was out on the course trying to help you out or something.
I mean, strategized. I just rode my bike. Yeah, so I was early. I call this time of year. The race just happened this last weekend. I call this time of year the humbling season, because I'm humbled by everybody, and I just don't have anything. And I can't believe that I'll ever be strong again because of a long winter. And so I go to this race, and it's like 2 or 3 stages. The third stage is the big stage, and after 45 minutes, I get dropped by all the strongest guys. And some of them aren't even that strong, but they're a lot stronger than me. And I let them go, and they all go the wrong way. They there's like a sign, and some motorcycle guy took the sign and turned it around or something. And I saw the sign. I was like, that sign isn't set up the way all the other signs are. Somebody must have messed with it. And I don't even hit my brakes. I just keep going. And like a mile later, I'm like, man, there's no tracks in front of me. I think I'm in the lead, and I'm definitely on course, and everybody's got GPSs, right? So imagine just the cacophony of 7 or 8 guys with all their GPSs going because they're off course, and they're walking over all these down trees and through snow and shit. And then all of it, there's just this group mentality where oh, we're doing the right thing, because there's so many of us, we can't be wrong. And I'm all of a sudden I'm like, well, I'm going to try to win this damn thing because why not? I'm going to make these guys chase. And I was on a solo break for 50 miles, and they got close, but they never got me.
I have this vision that reminds me of the Roadrunner and the Coyote, and the Coyote trying to mess with the Roadrunner and changes the sign, and it ends up backfiring and helping somebody else. And those guys, yeah, there was a very loosely thrown out, very funny rumor, that you had some folks out there helping you out and rolling the signs and trying to pull the Coyote on the old Roadrunner, but we know that's not true, Carl.
Nah, it was not worth it. I wanted the company, man. I didn't want to ride by myself all out for 50 miles.
Yeah, that's a long time solo.
It's looking over your shoulder with fear. Once you decide to suffer and try to do something like that, it's painful.
So another story, a 2,000-mile road trip and too many cars. Does that ring any bells? Too many cars. 2,000-mile road trip and too many cars. One of your longtime riding buddies that you like to follow on the downhill single track.
Yeah, Adam and I. I mean, we've done a bunch of. I can't remember 2,000 miles though. Where did we go?
No, I have no idea. All right, well let's try this one. So this will be some of your guys' European racing that included duct tape trains and hitchhiking.
Yeah, I mean we did it dirty back then, going to the World Cups. Adam and I are kind of on the same page with travel and stuff, and we'll figure it out when we get there sometimes. And when you have a small budget, that can be a boon to your getting places cheap. And if you fly into Glasgow, in Scotland and you're only a couple hours from a World Cup, like that's the place everybody flies into. Like just look for a guy with a bike box and see if he's got room in his car, and you'll buy the first tank of gas. That's a really cheap way to get places.
Absolutely.
Um, so we did that. We had like a bike box or two duct taped to a small car with 6 guys in it, and there's a skateboard duct taped to the roof of the box. Yeah, it was wild, but you always get where you're going if you're patient and you have a can-do attitude. Good things happen. It was a great trip.
And you follow your GPS and not necessarily the sign that somebody spun the wrong direction.
Well, back then we're talking like MapQuest back then, right? Remember when you used to print out your details of where you needed to turn?
Yeah. Yep. You had to print it out, or using a Thomas guide when you got to the edge of the top or the bottom of the page, you're like, oh crap, what number page do I have to go to? Wait, hold on. I got to flip to this page to see where we are. Yeah, it's right.
20.
Oh, hey, well, I know we're pushing time here. So, let's go back, 25th anniversary, Downieville Classic, historically, which is your favorite race, the cross country or the downhill?
I think, the cross country is where I made my bones and that was my strength, but the downhill is arguably even more special, I think. It's just to do a time trial on a downhill of that length is, it just doesn't happen. I don't know of anywhere else in the world that they do that. And to be handicapped basically by your start or your finish the prior day is, if you can see, like, you're literally like, oh, that dust, like I'm getting close to the guy in front of me. Like that dust is pretty thick. Like I'm within 15, 20 seconds. Like, and you're going so damn fast. You can't see the guy. He's 15 seconds ahead of you. You haven't seen him in miles, but you're like literally like, look at the dust. Like, yes, I'm making time. Like that's cool, man. Like you do that for 40 minutes and just at super high speed and it's just a gorgeous area. And you don't even look at it because there's so many layers of the competition and all this stuff that like you're just focused on this task. And the downhill there is really cool. It is maybe more important than the cross country to me in some ways. I'm proud to have won it a few times.
That's an interesting dynamic. You seeing the dust and when you think about World Cup, Enduro, World Series, and those downhill runs, you're solo on course. You're not chasing anybody. You're chasing time. And it'd be interesting to do a comparative. If you left up at Packer Saddle and, made your best downhill run with not a single other person on the course, or like you said, having that person that's just throwing up just enough dust in front of you to let you know, it's like, hey, I'm gaining, and that person left 30 seconds before me, or even 60, depending on where you are in the start time. But if they left 30 seconds and you're seeing dust, like you said, you've brought that down to 10 or 15, and that's a lot. That drives you.
Yeah, and when you're passing somebody like that's a big carrot. Like the dust can be a motivator, and then once you get close to somebody, it's slowing you down. So you're kind of riding even harder because you need to get through that dust and pass that person. So it changes things. There's pacing thing. You're not operating in a vacuum anymore. It's not a real just man against the course. Like you're seeing people get punctures, and that might, depending on who it is, that might change the way that you approach the rest of the course.
Sure.
Like, oh, there's Levi Leipheimer sitting there with a flat tire. Like now I just need to finish, like back it off 10%, save your equipment. It's there's so much that goes into that race with just setup and approach and just every rock and route out there. It's, depending on, it just changes. Like there's a lot to think about and a lot to perfect in your approach to that event.
A lot happens in 17 miles and 5,000 feet of descent.
Yep. A lot of bad things, but mostly good.
Hey, so in the Downieville system, what would you consider your favorite trail?
I think the descent from Third Divide is really special. It's just so fast. You know what I really like? Maybe one of my favorite parts, and I had them shoot it during that video we did last fall, was just like the embedded rock. Like when you drop into Butcher from below the road at sunrise, there's those new corners in there that are those aren't that great, but once it opens up and you start really ripping, and you got those GS turns and the water splashes before it gets pedally before the gash there.
Yeah.
That I love that part. It's just so fast and drifty, and you're just trying to stay off the brakes, and you're kind of manualing off of stuff. It feels like you're going 50 miles an hour, and it's so open, and it's pretty safe, but feels dangerous. That's really cool, man. It's just it's one of my favorite places on a bike for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely a great section right there, and it is fast, especially when you know what's coming. You can really, you really have an advantage over someone that's maybe not as intimate with that section. You can really stay off the brakes
Yeah, you're
completely.
lining up with the
Yeah,
right spot over crest, and you can tell from everybody else's tracks that they're not. And you're just holding mega speed, and you're off the brakes, and you just hear your tires howling, and rocks spraying, and you're just like, man, I'm doing it. Like this is it. Like this is awesome.
So, coming up here in less than 2 months, you're going to be on that start line again in Sierra City with 899 other mountain bike riders, and you've got a young in there that that will be defending. But how are you going to win number 6?
There's going to be I'm going to have you go up on a motorcycle and change the course marking. I'm going to need at least 8 people to go the wrong way, because there's going to be, I'm old, even older than I was. And there's so much talent there this year with it being part of the single track series. And, we've been saying this for years. Like there's been, Greg Menard was there and Jerome Clements, like the best enduro rider of an era, like was there at his prime. You get like a lot of the world's best riders have been there, and very few of them have succeeded. So it's going to be really fun to see which I'm just going to be participating. I'll try my guts out, but I'm real keen to see who kind of ends up on top. Seeing some of these brand name marquee riders show up to Downieville and duke it out. That's going to be super neat.
Yeah, and it's fun for everybody too, having that caliber of folks, especially when we all get back into town and just listening to all of you, guys and gals talk to each other about the course, about that day, and it's pretty cool. I know on the cross country day, water and food are super important on that 27 miles. And, of course, we've got aid stations on the cross country day where, you can pick up your goo packets and, your bars and grab some drink mix or just water. But I'm going to tell a secret of yours. I guess this is like a faux pas if you're a magician, you don't reveal your magic tricks, but apparently it's not the gel packs or the bars. It's a grilled pork chop. That's the Carl Decker's secret weapon when it comes to pack food.
That's more of a 3 hours or longer type of event. I can kind of eat anything. I was blessed with my dad's digestive system. So, whatever fuels the fire, like it doesn't have to be in a Mylar package to be sports food. It's kind of whatever you're hungry for. Like cookies are really easy to eat, and like if I like cookies, so I end up eating them when I need to instead of kind of waiting too long when I don't. Like the pork chops are generally a training food though.
Get that protein in there.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about out of time here. 25th anniversary coming up. Maybe just what's been your maybe favorite all-time favorite Downieville classic? I mean, obviously winning 5 is pretty impressive, 5 in a row. Either one of your most epic moments or the craziest moment that you've ever experienced at a Downieville classic.
I've had a couple low moments there that were memorable, that were like, where I won despite having things happen that were my fault, that were like learning moments. Like I crashed going into the waterfall once in a high water year, and like went over the bars and did a push up where my lips touched the water.
Ooh.
And like spun my brake on the bar and soaked my gloves. And like, you know, it was during the downhill, right? Like you don't have time to waste doing that shit. And I thought I'd thrown the whole thing away, but still ended up, it was, you know, I was able to manage to win because it was before the Decker rule. That was like a moment that was, you know, like, oh my God, I've ruined it. And I think maybe the first or one of those years, I also crashed the green bridge to the climb to third.
Yes.
At the bottom of, I guess, is it still Butcher there? I don't know. Where the green bridge you cross there.
Yep.
If you are riding on that thing and you're on a 29er for the first time and you go to swing your wheels out to the edge to like carry speed up onto the rock there's a rut on the, there's a beside the boards, there's a tire size groove that you can drop your wheels into, and then you fall face first onto the rock at really high speed. And I did that. And there was a dude in a chicken outfit, and I fell at the knees of this giant chicken while trying to race my bike. And it's just me and the chicken, and my regret. And I just remember like it was a physics lesson and just like a distilled moment in my racing career and life where it's just like, oh wow, that's some weird shit happens. And it can happen at any time, and like get your shit together. And that's what it's about there. Like everybody's going to make a mistake, and it's just a matter of how you respond to that and how you keep on moving.
Boy, I could just see the YouTube documentary on that. Carl Decker at the precipice of defeat, and yet is saved by a giant chicken.
Well, I wish I would have fallen on him. He was very instead I fell onto like broken like granite. It was awful.
When this show gets published too, I guarantee I'm either going to get a phone call, a text message, or an email, and it'll be revealing to me who the giant chicken was. So as soon as I know, I'll let you know for sure. Well, 25th anniversary, Carl. I mean, coming up, I know you're going to be there. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there as well. Just kind of final thoughts on 25th anniversary and the resurrection of the Downieville Classic post-COVID.
It's about damn time. That's my final thoughts. It's going to be awesome. Like everybody's super excited about it. People have just been waiting for this, and this is going to be just a huge homecoming for a lot of people, and I'm excited to be there. Giant's going to have a ton of people there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. New memories and new friends and same old place.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Carl, thank you so much for joining me today, and it was great talking to you. And like anything, we could easily go on for another hour. And if it was a little later in the day, I'm sure we could, it turned into pub talk. We could have some beverages up on the bar and continue for another couple hours of conversation. But yeah, thanks a lot for being here, and best of luck on all of your races in between as you're training for the Classic. And yeah, again, thanks for being here.
Hey, my pleasure. Anytime. We'll see you in Downieville.
All right, we will see you in Downieville. You've been listening to Dirt Magic, the Downieville Sessions. I'm your host, Martin Scheel. Dirt Magic is produced by the Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship. Music selection courtesy of the Saddle Tramps. Stay tuned for our next Downieville Sessions, and thanks again for listening.